Hey guys, I'm Ross Lynch from the Driver Era, and you're listening to Main Pod Girl.
Hey, welcome to Main Pod Girl, a podcast made by Popheads for Popheads. Every episode, we'll be diving into all kinds of pop culture topics with some of our favorite artists and music commentators. I'm your host, AJ Marks, and today we have two very special guests. Brothers Rocky and Ross Lynch, who you'll recognize if you were a fan of R5, grew up on Disney Channel, or own a Twitter account. Also an actor, Ross starred in some staples of Gen Z culture, including Austin and Ally, Teen Beach Movie, Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, and music videos by Kids Bop, Hannah Montana, and most recently, Troye Sivan. Together as a band, the entire internet is turning into their fan club, and I can't blame them. They release music under a variety of monikers, but today we're digging into their music as the Driver Era. Hey guys, welcome to the show.
Yeah, yeet.
The band name Driver Era is brilliant because I feel like it sums up the vibes of the music pretty well in like an idiosyncratic way. Does the name mean anything special to you in particular, or is it just an assembly of words that like kind of felt right?
Well, first of all, you're the only person that's ever talked of it so highly, so thank you for that. That's very nice.
Wait, really? Why do people usually come in interviews and they're like, the band name is shit?
Well, no, they just don't get it. They're just like, so why are you called that? And we're just like, no, it does have significance for us. We stumbled upon it in a conversation where we were kind of talking about philosophy in the future. Me and Rocky tend to have those kinds of conversations.
Mm-hmm.
It just came out in a conversation, and when I said it, Rocky was like, I think that's the band name, because we had been looking for a band name for some months prior.
Oh, so you were like, I'm in my driver era kind of thing, like I'm behind the wheel?
It's more like this is the last of the driver era. Like this time that we're living in right now.
Right.
Soon everything will be automated.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a cheeky way of being like, in 50 years or what have you, when you look back at this band, it'll be like, it'll remind you of this time. Makes sense?
Totally.
Like I'm just like imagining like even further along, like all of us are not even here anymore. Like such a crazy thought.
In like a totally opposite world.
Yeah, like
in
all of
the
us
future.
Yeah, when they figure out how to teleport us or whatnot.
Yeah.
I remember seeing on a movie screen, like maybe, it would have been like 15 years ago or something. It had those like fun facts before every movie, and it was like, fun fact, in like 50 years, scientists predict that we'll be able to teleport places. And I'm like, I don't know if that really holds up. At 15 years later, I'm just like, I still feel like 35 years from now, it's not going to happen, but who knows? Who knows?
That'd be wild, though.
That's hard to like out of everything that's gonna be like invented or like somehow crazy science shit. Like that.
Well, quantum physics is like really taking some crazy leaps right now, where they can like have two separate atoms in different places, manipulate one, and the other atom, wherever it is, it could be on the moon, will mimic the one that's being manipulated. So they're doing like crazy shit in science right now.
Yeah, but we're going to be in the driver era for the time being. before we get there. I actually interpreted the name as like, or at least the way that I feel like it fits with the music is like, this is the kind of music you want to like bump in the car. You know what I mean? That's the kind of music you want to experience. Because I'm imagining also just like putting in a CD into the car at like very old school. And I feel like that's very much like a driver era kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like when people drove instead of just like listening to their
like getting rid of the CD is like the start. Everything's like a little bit of like moving more into the future.
Yeah, beginning of the end.
Like you're not putting a CD in your car often.
Totally.
So your new song Rumors, fucking love this song, kind of speaks for itself. It feels very self-referential and expertly kind of plays into this moment y'all are having right now. What's the most wild rumor that you've seen floating around online about yourself?
I'm just going to go ahead and say it. I feel like the craziest rumor ever was that people thought Rainey and I were romantic at one point.
I still think they probably were.
Shut up, Rocky. No, it's like a hilarious joke between me and the Austin Alley cast now, because like she's just like so much my sister that it's like hilarious.
See, I feel like I have some friends that will have these like fake ships, but it's interesting that you have a friendship where you can like joke about being in a fake relationship with, but then you have so many people who genuinely believe it to be true that you don't even know.
Oh yeah. I mean, Rainey and I, like, it's just like a hilarious like assumption to make, I guess, because it's like it's so far from like our
Yeah.
relationship or the dynamics of our relationship.
Is there any for you, Rocky?
I'm not much of a celebrity, so it's not much to talk about.
Nice, flying under the radar. Love it.
Just really quickly while I'm thinking about it, I want to add that Rumors is not as necessarily about us as much
Mhm.
as it's about you.
Me personally.
Yeah.
Just sort of like the narratives on the internet that are
Yeah.
so easily believable without any actual facts or evidence that say that it's true.
Yeah.
You know, we live in such a strange time where like you hear rumors all the time on social media, and a lot of people jump to the case that it must be true when really we don't actually have any idea.
Oh, I feel like you guys are going viral like every other day for some of the most random stuff.
Sure.
Do you ever get surprised about what circulates? Or do you kind of like think in the moment, like, yeah, you're like, this is the moment. Twitter's going to love this.
I'm usually surprised, except for the Troye Sivan one. I knew that one was going to have a bit of a blast.
Yeah.
But beyond that, like there's like random times where like we'll just be on tour and we'll just be, you know, on the tour grind, just playing our songs and stuff. And all of a sudden it pops off on TikTok or something, like a video of us performing live. And that's always kind of cool to see, honestly, because it's like, it means we're doing well, you know?
Yeah. No, I feel like you guys have become pretty synonymous with your live shows, which I think is becoming pretty rare these days. Like, is the live element your favorite aspect of that, or is it more spending time in the studio and like working, tweaking in the songs?
Well, we do so much of both. I feel like being in the studio recently has been really fulfilling.
Mhm.
We've really made some songs that have yet to be released that we're like really proud of. We feel like we're making the best music we've ever made.
Hell yeah.
And we feel like we're really honing in on what the Driver era is sonically, which is really exciting. Like there's a few songs recently where we're like, yo, that's the Driver era, which is really exciting. You know, and we'll always be this way. We'll always be bouncing around genres just because that's how we create. That's how we do music too. But recently we feel like we've just gotten like a really good little niche vibe going on in the studio, which is really exciting. But you know, and that's also a huge part of our identity too, is like touring. Like we've always been touring for like the past like 13 years of our lives. It's just like every year we tour. And that's always been super fulfilling.
I just really quickly want to touch on the Troye Sivan music video that you were talking about earlier. That kind of feels like a wink to the band's recent virality, you know? Like it feels like you're like becoming like a little bit of a video vixen, Ross. I mean, is that not what's happening? I feel like because you were in a Hannah Montana music video too, right?
I was way back in the day.
Kind of a career path for you. I don't know. What was your first reaction when Troye laid out the concept for you, and then your reaction when seeing him in the wig?
Well,
Tell us the truth.
it was very spur of the moment. They literally called us and they were like, "Hey, Troye would love for you to be in this video. Here's the concept. If you want to be in it, you got to catch a red eye to New York tonight." So it's very fast.
Oh shit.
Yeah. And at first I was like, wow, that concept's definitely interesting. I like it. And ultimately, because it was such a fast decision, I was just trying to ask my intuition, like, is this a yes or a no? And in my gut, it was like, hell yeah, dude. So me and my little brother Ryland took the red eye to New York. And when we first saw Troye, I'm not gonna lie, we didn't know it was him.
I didn't know it was him either. Like watching the video, you're expecting it to be him, and I still was like, wait, hold on.
Even after it came
Who's
out,
the hot girl in there?
I was like, who's this?
people would ask me, they'd be like, who's the girl though? And I'm like, that's Troye.
Yeah,
Like I got that question like 5 or 6 times. It was so funny.
that's crazy.
But that was honestly a great experience, and Troye is such a sweetheart. It was really, really cool to be a part of.
I was talking to Lauren Gray about being in the Taylor Swift music video where she plays a man, and Lauren didn't know that Taylor was like right next to her because she was in drag.
Wait, Taylor plays a man?
Yeah, Taylor plays a man in the music video, The Man, and Lauren was like in that video, and she knew that Taylor was going to be there, but Taylor talked to her, and she was like, "Wait, what? Hold on!" I didn't, because she thought she was like a random dude.
Let's go, Tay Tay.
That's
She's
amazing.
been upping her testosterone intake.
Yeah.
So Malibu and Rumors seem like the most like pop leaning you've been for this project. Is that something that you're tapping into more for new music, or is it more the experimental, like the Strokes meets Flaming Lips kind of stuff?
That's a cool reference.
That's what speaks to me, at least for the album tracks.
The next song, if it is a song, it's a little more like funk, disco, throwbacky.
Well, it's funny that you soloed those songs out because there's like a few ways in which we'll hit the studio.
Mm.
One of the ways is like me and Rocky at home, just like making beats all day. And then there's like the session songs where we'll like go meet up with another writer at maybe at their house and we'll like see what happens.
Maybe like a homie or something.
Yeah. And Malibu and Rumors are actually the most, or maybe the only examples of like session songs that we've released as the Driver era, where we'll like go meet up with a writer that we've worked with before that we really get along with.
Nice.
But the majority of the other stuff that we release is basically just me and Rocky writing and producing it.
And then some, like, we still work with Ellington a lot. So on like Rumors, we did Rumors with Ellington and then another homie of ours. We kind of pop around.
For those that don't know, Ellington is the drummer of R5, our prior band.
That's fascinating that you can kind of like tell how the song was made almost by listening to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys have that little DNA like thumbprints, you know?
Yeah.
100%.
Whenever you're in the studio, any presence makes a difference on the song.
Totally.
Like the person doesn't even have to be necessarily collaborating, but any energy in the room will change the environment so slightly to where the song will represent that. It's honestly wild.
I've gone into sessions where like my friend will just bring his manager and she'll just sit there, and she is not musical at all, but she'll just kind of sit there and vibe. And I feel like she always elevates what the session actually is just by sitting there and joking around with us. And I just feel like we get a little sillier and we get better work from that. So I know what you mean.
I know exactly what you mean too.
Mm-hmm.
Like for sure.
Important to keep the environment like friendly and silly and fun for sure.
And interesting and new, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Clearly you like to cover lots of ground sonically, but do you have like a favorite production tool or trick that you keep coming back to?
I realized like sometimes I feel like people do this if they're making a track or something. They have like almost like natural habits where they just like do this, like doing it because they're looking for that result. So that maybe is my favorite trick, is to just fucking open a plugin that I don't know what it's about to do. I'm like, yo, let's get this new guy going. What's going on here?
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, I went to college that Paul McCartney founded. So he would come in and talk to us about songwriting and whatnot. And I remember just something that really stuck with me is that he was like, I didn't know how to write songs. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know about chords. I didn't really know how to play instruments. I just kind of vibed and did what sounded good. And he changed the face of pop music as we know it, like literally, maybe even created it as we know it. So it's like not knowing things or not understanding something in the way that it's supposed to be done. Like creativity is not doing something the way it's supposed to be done. It's figuring out a way to make something new out of the stuff that you've been given. So
yeah,
100%.
it's like all right, like some people might be like, oh yeah, like to learn how to write like a good song, whatever, you need like maybe a bunch of, you got to do it a lot or something. But then it's more like how to not conform. like every time it's like a new maze. You don't actually know the fucking route. You kind of know how to write and produce a song, but it's always a new something that needs to be like figured out and opened. So you can kind of learn it, but it's actually more learning how to just continue to fucking be on this like.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like I've been really digging into neuroscience recently. I've been getting really into that. And I feel like one of the biggest revelations that I've had is that like consciousness is the thing that changes the future, right? So every conscious decision is, do I want to get up and go downstairs and make some food for myself, or do I want to order something? But then there are a lot of things you do subconsciously that your brain isn't even like aware of, like me moving my hand while I'm talking or getting dressed. I like make the decision to get dressed, but I don't really think about how I'm getting dressed. I'm not making choices actively. So making a song, I feel like you're always creatively your best when you're faced with so many of those conscious choices and you're like in that maze and you have two ways to go and you have to decide a way as opposed to just kind of walking through the way that you've always gone through. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you just don't end up with the same result knowing like, oh, I have to do this and that means I have to do this. You know, it's math, but it's math to a point.
Yeah, you can stumble your way through it for sure. I've met many musicians that know music theory like the back of their hand that literally say to me sometimes, they're like, I wish I could just forget all of that so that I could play around more, not knowing what was to come of it. But then it goes the other way too, where you learn all the rules so that you can break them appropriately too.
Yeah, exactly. All right, and then finally, I want to touch quickly on the live album. Do you feel like it's the momentum of the live shows, or is there something about the spark of doing things live that kind of brought you to release a live album? Is it something you've always wanted to do?
Well, this was sort of it was a celebration really of changing our band name, starting back from ground zero, and then sort of like making it back to the height of where R5 got to. We actually made a concert film with R5 at the Greek 8 years ago. So now that we were playing the Greek again, we were like, we gotta film it.
Nice.
Yeah, it's like a representation, a celebration of like all the ways in which we've grown with our fans, because a lot of the fans that were there at that show were there 8 years ago as well.
Yeah.
And we really wanted to do something special to celebrate all that history. And we pulled out, we were trying to make it as special as we can. We've never really done a show like this ever. We had some dancers come up on stage. We had all sorts of stuff. We played an R5 song. So it was really, it was a celebration.
And drone shots.
Yeah. So yeah, considering all the history and the fact that, we've had this amazing fan base for, 12 plus years, even more than that, probably like 15 years. We just kind of wanted to like celebrate that.
Yeah, it's like you had the R5 era and then the Driver era. This is celebrating the transition of that, and then going into this next album, this next project, you said you're kind of discovering what the Driver era is. So it's kind of like this is the cap on the transitional period, and then you're going to go in like full guns blazing with like we found the sound.
Yeah, totally.
That seems like that is what will happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how does one sit down and like write the album of their lifetime? If you've been in it this long, there is like, oh wait, hold on, I probably need to do that before it's too late. Thought like that is like, oh, and I do think sonically there is like a final stamp that we have yet to fully do, and it's like maybe it's time. I've heard Pharrell say this where it's like, I mean, there's so many variables in like, if a song actually like is successful or people know it, it's like there's so many fucking variables. It's insane. It's like, all right, is the person that has to tell people about the song, do they even like it? Like, you know what I'm saying? Do they have this fucking energy to go, sell it? Do you have what it takes yourself as the person that made it? There's like, and then it's also got to hit this weird fucking like, oh, it's got to somehow like trend on this thing and like whatever.
Yeah, this little algorithm.
Variable, so you can't really like judge the result, but it might be time to finally fucking go up one more league.
I fucking love that. I love that you had your steam, you built it from the ground up, you got back on your feet, like you're back at that peak now, and then you're ready to league up. That's great.
Funny, I was thinking about this today actually, but there's this notion in the entertainment industry that like you should try to be as successful as possible and you should try to be as big as you can. And especially the people behind the scenes are always going to want bigger numbers and more success because that's the goal, right? Just humanity. Everyone wants to level up. But to be honest with you, I quite like where we are. Every time we play a show, we get thousands of people to come through that know every song, and they're jumping around, they're screaming, they're having a great time. And I remember going to see Glass Animals when they had released Heat Waves. And I love Glass Animals. I think they're fantastic. And their show is incredible. But there was
Steve Lacy effect.
A little bit. There was half the crowd that was just waiting for that one song.
Got you, yeah.
There's part of me that's like, obviously, like that would be great. to have that song that everyone loves and you hear it on the radio and all this stuff. But there is a sweet spot that we're in right now,
Yeah.
where everyone that's coming to the show is in it. It's like this cult following thing that is really special. So I kind of have this like mixed emotions towards the idea of like having a hit song in a way, you know?
Yeah. And I feel like Leveling Up doesn't always have to look like having a hit song, but maybe having the song that you feel like sums up the band and sums up the project. Maybe the song that all your fans are like, this is the song, this is the Driver era song. Maybe having the album that feels like it encapsulates everything you've been doing for all these years, you know, feeling you find that sound or you find that look or image, something to look back on and be proud of. I think as an artist, like I'm so artist brained that like it's almost like you want to be proud of these things in a vacuum. You know what I mean? You want to like look back at the stuff regardless of how anyone else interpreted it or streamed it or whatever, and you just want to be like, yeah, like I did that, context removed.
100%. And that actually does happen to us every now and again. And once we release a song, we tend to not really listen to it all that much.
Only before it's released for some reason.
Yeah, because you know we had just listened to it a million times, so it's like once it's for the world, it's for the world. It's no longer ours.
Yeah,
but there is a sweet spot where like maybe 6 months to a year later, you'll like revisit it and you're like, oh yeah, that is pretty good actually. I'm proud of that. You know?
Yeah. Sometimes even years later, and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, totally.
So this is called Popheads Gone Viral. So nowadays, so many older songs are going viral and climbing up even into the top 10 of the Billboard Hot 100. I'm going to give you some songs that I think could go big in the charts once again through 3 different methods. Are you ready to make these songs go to the top?
Yes.
All right, you're going to have to help me out here. The first one is a viral TikTok challenge. The second way is a Fortnite concert. And the third way is my favorite, the Bernie Sanders 2024 campaign song. So I'm going to give you a song, and then we're all going to have to choose for ourselves how we think that song would go viral. The first one, I'm going to go with Hella Good by No Doubt. We're familiar with that song?
Oh my God, yeah.
Okay, cool. It's a fucking great song. So are we thinking TikTok challenge, Fortnite concert, or Bernie Sanders 2024?
No,
I was gonna go Fortnite concert with that one.
Hey, that'd be a good reunion. Okay, wait. So Ross, you're going Fortnite, and Rocky, you're going Bernie Sanders. I think I'm also gonna go Bernie Sanders. I don't know. I feel like everything's gonna be Bernie Sanders. So the next one is Play That Funky Music by Wild Cherry. Are we TikTok, Fortnite, or Bernie?
I'm going Bernie with that one.
Want to pick Bernie on all of them. I feel that okay, we'll go TikTok.
I think I'm gonna go with Fortnite concert on that one, just because they have so many good dance moves in Fortnite. You know what I mean? Like I feel like no one has to be able to dance to Play That Funky Music. And then the last one, Don't Trust Me by 303.
Oh, Don't Trust the Hoe, that one?
Yeah. And I'm gonna go with Bernie Sanders.
I think that's got to be TikTok.
TikTok? All right. I'm going to go with Bernie just because I feel like it's so counterintuitive to say don't trust me for his campaign.
I like it.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for being on the show. That was great. I really appreciate it.
Thanks
for sure.
It was so nice meeting you guys.
Yo, thanks so much.
Peace and love.
Thank you so much to Rocky and Ross for joining me. Thank you to Noah for the theme music. Also, make sure to rate and review us on whatever podcast platform you're listening to me on right now. It'd mean a whole lot to me and the Popheads team who work so hard on getting the show out to y'all. Stay tuned, and I'll see you next time.